Hello, happy Sunday to you. On today, a beautiful Sunday we have again. On Sundays, I do videos on the power of story. Power of story. This is very important topic for me because our life is centered on the stories of our life. Whether you are happy in life or not, whether you are feeling great in life depends on the personal story of your life. This is very, very important. The story of life determines your happiness, determines your fulfillment, determines your feeling of greatness or feeling of frustration in life. Let me start by telling you that there are different kinds of stories. The story people tell you, and also the story you tell people, and the story you tell yourself. The story people tell you, the story you tell people, and the story you tell yourself. I want to start with the story you tell yourself. This is most important for me because it determines how you feel about the story people tell you and also the story you tell people. The major thing is the story you tell yourself, your personal story, if I may put it that way. Your personal story determines your level of happiness, your joy, your fulfillment in life, your feelings, your emotions is centered around your personal story. You must have seen people who are very happy people, very enthusiastic people, very lively people, and something happens in their lives, and you discover that after that event, they are no longer able to go back, to get back to their lively self, even after years this thing has happened. They can't get back to that original happy person they used to be. They may get over the event, but they can't get back to that person you know. You see them always very, very quiet. Some of people they become so quiet. Somebody that used to be outgoing becomes automatically an introvert. And even after years, the person remain that because that person is stuck in that story. And this is what our personal stories can do to us. It's a very serious thing. The story of your life, the story you're telling yourself. There is a story about a woman who lost her husband. Then, after 1 week, she lost also her son. Then, the woman started feeling very, very bad. Nobody to stay with her. She was alone. And then, one day, according to the story, she saw a cat, and the cat followed her home, and she gave the cat milk. The cat drank this milk and was happy. The woman said, if I can make this cat happy and I also feel happy by making this cat happy, if I make other people happy, then I think I'll be more happy. I don't know if you get what is happening. This woman went out and started trying to make people happy. She remember she had a neighbor who was sick. She took some food to her and helped her to take care of her problems. And she discovered that she became a very happy. She forgot her pains. She forgot her sorrows. She forgot her traumas. And her life changed. She said she even became happier than when her husband and her kid was alive. Not because of anything, not because she was happy losing them, but that she discovered other ways of being happy. Now, why did she tell this story? She told this story to a young woman who came to a counselor, a psychologist, a young rich woman, a young rich lady, and was not happy. So she told the psychologist that she has money, she has everything, but she is not happy. And then the psychologist called in this woman who happened to be her sweeper to talk to the young lady. And after talking to this young lady, the young lady's life changed. What is in these stories? In these two stories, you see what I call personal stories. Two things are happening in the lives of these two persons, but it is not what is happening in their life that is important. It is what they are telling themselves. It is the story they are telling themselves about what is happening in their life that define their happiness, their joy, their attitude, their outlook. Is very, very important. I don't know how happy you are. I don't know how you feel inside, but I want you after this video to look into the story you tell yourself. Find out the story that gets you stuck. I will be doing this video every Sunday because it has a lot of power. It has a lot of ways of changing our lives. It has a lot of ways of spicing you up. It has a lot of ways of making you happy, bringing out the best in you. I'm telling you, I am going to give you another story. This story is about a young lady. She got a proposal for marriage, and a week to her wedding, her fiance died in accident. And after that, she was so heartbroken that she never wanted to fall in love with anybody again because she said, what is the need of falling in love with somebody just a week to the wedding? You lose somebody that you want to get married, somebody that emotion and everything, your dreams of happiness in life is already centered around this person. A week to the wedding, you already feel with ecstasy of the honeymoon and everything. The person just died. It can be devastating. I don't know how to explain it. You may not even understand it until you enter into that kind of situation. But there's something that happened in the life of this lady that I want to share. This is a real life story. It's not a fiction, it's a real life story. This lady later, after years of being inside, she later decided to give another young man an opportunity. And they became friends, but she refused marriage. She refused even proposal because she was still stuck in that old event. So he said, no need talking about marriage. Several times the young man tried to propose for marriage. She said no. They remained just friends. And she went for a conference. And in the conference, it was about changing your story in order to change your life, recreating the stories of your life. So the conference made so much impression on her in the night that she took phone and called the friend to say, oh, I'm okay. I can now go on with the proposal if you're ready for marriage. She was like, oh, I've been stuck in the story and it has been eating me up. Unfortunately, when she called the friend, he was not there to pick the call. And so she dropped a voice message for her. This thing happened. I know you remember about 9/11 that happened in America, the suicide, a terrorist attack that happened in Pentagon, where many people died. So this happened on eve of that day. So the next day, this young lady now was in the conference and they heard about the event that happened in 9/11 in the Pentagon, that the plane has crashed into the building. Now, the man who happened to be the friend was in that building and has gotten that voice message and now called her from that Pentagon and said, I heard your voice message about the proposal. I'm very, very happy. But right now, see what is happening. And I'm inside that building. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know how it's going to end, but at least I am very happy hearing that you are ready to accept me as your husband. As he was talking to her with this, the phone went dead. The building collapsed. That was the end. Now look at the story of this young lady. And when they came for the conference the next day, that very morning, when they came for the conference, the person that was supposed to present the conference, a very known man in America, he couldn't present it because how can he begin to talk to people about in that kind of situation? It was a serious crisis, a national crisis. Everybody was in pain, everybody was in sorrow. So The lady raised up her hand that she wanted to say something. When the man now started talking about how we can interpret stories of our life, the lady raised up her hand and now came out and now narrated what happened in her life. She lost her first fiancé to an accident 1 week the wedding. Then, after hearing about changing the stories of your life, she now gave a voice message to the second person she happened to fall in love with. And look, on the morning of that day, the whole thing ended shattered. She said that if she had not gotten stuck to the first event of her life, that by now she should have married. That she now discovered that what kept on putting her in trouble was that she was giving a negative interpretation to the stories of her life, and that she has refused to give this particular one a negative interpretation. When I heard this story, it touched me. I couldn't believe it. For me, this woman was a kind of a powerful person. For me, I would be thinking, why the second time again? Me, only me. That kind of thinking was what was coming to my mind. And I know in our society, in that kind of thing, people would definitely tell you something must be definitely wrong. You need to do this and that and that. But that is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that this woman was able to give that a positive interpretation, to say that she will not allow this event to define the story of her life, her personal story. So what I'm trying to say about this is a lot of things happen in our life, many things that are not under our control. I'm not talking about things that are under our control, I'm talking about things that you cannot control. But you are the person that should define the story of your life. And it's very important because the story of your life is what is going to determine whether you're happy, you're fulfilled, or you're productive or unproductive. The story of your life can bring your life to an end. You are still alive, moving around, but you're dead and you're stuck. I give you example of a story of a pussycat. The cat went to a kettle of hot water, not knowing that there's hot water inside it, and sat on top of it and then jumped up because of the feeling sensation of heat from the kettle that is containing hot water. And what happened was that cat never sat on kettle again all his life. I don't know if you get the meaning of this story. For this cat, every kettle is dangerous to sit on, whether it is containing hot water or cold water, because of that experience. Now, this is what happens to many of us. Sometimes we get stuck, we allow an event in life to determine the story of our lives. We allow something that happened maybe years ago to determine the story of our lives. And what I want you to know is, if you cannot change the story of your life, you cannot change your life. And you cannot change another person's life. The only way you can help people in life is when you can help yourself, when you can change your story, when you can change the past things that happened in your life, and when you can get in connection with them and give it interpretation that is positive and that is productive and that is victorious. And that is the story. The story is not what happened. What happened is an event. The story of your life is how you interpret the events of life, the meaning you give to them, the way you look at them, the perspective you bring into them. We were discussing one day about a young man who produced music, Christian music, and was talking about how God blessed him and how many people are now calling him, giving him this and giving him this, even buildings and everything. And somebody said, Oh, oh, and all my efforts, why is it that nobody has blessed me like this? And I laughed. So for this person, the interpretation he gave to this story of this young man that was successful was, me myself, I have not been blessed like this. Why is it that I'm not been blessed like this? Nobody has blessed my life like this after all the things I'm doing. He is not seeing the things he's doing as a way of blessing people. He is looking for a way that he will be blessed, the way this person has been blessed, not even knowing that his own blessing or her own blessing is still coming. And so sometimes we give up in life because we decide to give a negative interpretation the events of our life. We decide to carry on a bad story. So why I made this video, and I'm going to be making it every Sunday, the power of story, is that you must look into the story of your life, the interpretation you have been given to things happening in your life, because they are the key to your success. They are the key to your joy. They are the key to your happiness. There are certain things that you can definitely not control in this life. There are many of them, but you can control the story you tell. You can control the interpretation you give to your life. You can be the one to say, this is the story of my life. This is the story I want to have. And you are the one to create the story of your life. You are the script writer for the story of your life. Every other thing can be the plot that can come into the script you have written for yourself. So I'm making these videos to interrupt some stories that are negative, to distract you from stories that are not healthy for your life, and to help you get out of the stuck life that you can be in when you allow your story of life to be a negative story. Everyone has a story in this world. You must have a story. In other videos I'm going to make, I will tell you how different stories can affect you and how you can break out of the bad stories, how you can change your story, you can recreate the story of life, and it becomes an interesting story, and it becomes a story that makes you very happy, and it becomes a story that makes you so enthusiastic, as it becomes a story that makes you so passionate about your life. It becomes a story that makes you, when you hear that you are wonderfully and fearfully made, you believe it not just because it is written in the Bible, it's because of the word of God, but because it is a reality and because you feel it tangibly. So I encourage you to look into the story of your life and to begin to think about it. You can send me a message concerning the story of your life, and I can give you a direction. As I continue to make these videos, I'm going to continue to tell you so many things that will help you to build your story, to make a story wonderful, to make your story what it should be, to be proud of the story you're telling. I will tell you how you shouldn't allow public stories to determine your own personal stories, how you shouldn't allow past stories to determine your personal stories, how you shouldn't allow the creativity of negative stories to continue to dampen your story, to come into your story and distract your positive story. Sometimes even your positive stories can be distracted and disrupted, and then a negative narrative follows. It shouldn't be like that. So Jesus will say, he who listens to this and they put it into action is a wise man who built on the rock. If this video have made you realize something positive in your life, put it into action. If you can change your story, the good news is that you can change somebody's story. It is only when you change your story that you can change people's story. So if you can change your story to be a healthy story, to be a wonderful story, to be a beautiful story, then you can change the stories of people around you. That is the miracle in it. You can change the stories of people around you because you cannot change your story without changing other people's story. It is contagious. You'll now discover how you can change people's stories, how you can make their stories wonderful from your own story. So I encourage you to make sure that this video is something that you put into your life, is something that will influence the outcome of your life. Begin to come out of that stuck negative story that is holding you captive. There are many of them. Sometimes you have to sit down and discover the story that is holding you captive before you can come out of it. I'm always there to help you. You can send me private message with any question you have. And like I said, next Sunday, I will continue to talk to you about this interesting topic and interesting way of bringing full happiness and full joy into your life. Remain blessed.